Brothers and sisters, let me tell you today, we are living in a time of great achievement, great advancement, and yet a great moral crisis. We've split the atom, we've reached the stars, we've built machines that think faster than the human mind. But the question I put before you today is not about technology, not about progress, not about power. The question is this: do we have character? Because all the progress in the world means nothing if our hearts are empty, our words are hollow, and our hands are stained. You see, character is not something you buy. It isn't handed down through bloodlines. It isn't found in fame, fortune, or title. Character is who you are when the spotlight turns off, when no one is watching, when there is no applause. It's the whisper inside that says, do right, even if it costs you. It's the backbone that stands up when the world bows down. It's the strength to say no when everything around you says. And why is character necessary? Because talent can take you places, but only character will keep you there. Because the world is hungry for truth, but truth without character is just noise. Because your children, your neighbors, your nation, they don't need perfection from you, they need it. Ladies and gentlemen, a man or woman without character is like a ship without a compass, drifting lost, easily capsized. But with character, you can weather any storm. With character, you can walk through fire and come out gold. So I say this: build your life not on popularity, not on position, but on principle. Build it on truth, on compassion, on courage, on sacrifice. And when you do, the world may not always praise you, but your conscience will be clear, your soul will be strong. In your life, your legacy will shine like a light in the dark. Character is the foundation of trust and integrity, because without character, there can be no anchor to hold us steady in a world that shifts like sand beneath our feet, no compass to guide us when the skies are dark and the voices around us speak only what is easy, only what is popular, only what is safe, and yet character stands unmoved, unshaken, like a lighthouse on the cliff. Its light piercing through storm and fog, calling out not to the strong or the swift or the skilled, but to the honest, to the faithful, to the ones who choose truth even when it costs them everything. Character is the foundation of trust and integrity, because trust is not built on charm or clever words or smooth hands, but on the quiet choices we make when no one claps, when no one sees, when there is no reward except the peace in our own. And integrity, oh, integrity, is not a robe we put on when the world is watching, but a fire burning within us. A fire that says, I will not lie, I will not cheat, I will not bend for gain or applause or approval. And even if I walk alone, I will walk upright. I will walk. Character is the foundation of trust and integrity, because promises are only as strong as the person who speaks them. And words mean nothing when they are not backed by a life that lives them out. And in a world drowning in broken vows and half-truths and shadows, we cry out for something real, something solid, something that cannot be bought, cannot be shaken, cannot be erased by pressure or pleasure or pride. And that something is character. That something is the core of who you are when all the masks are gone. Character is the foundation of trust and integrity, because laws may keep a man from crime, but only character can keep a man from corruption. Only character can stop the hand before it steals, the mouth before it lies, the heart before it turns. And while the world worships power and position and image, heaven looks for something deeper, something truer, something that cannot be touched by titles or tarnished by success, and that is a heart of character. Character is the foundation of trust and integrity, because relationships, families, communities, they do not fall apart because of storms, but because of cracks in the soul. Cracks made by compromise, by secret sins, by quiet betrayals, and yet when a man or woman is rooted in character, they become like a great tree planted by the waters. They bend but do not break. They stumble but do not stay down. And from their life grows a legacy that cannot be faked, cannot be bought, cannot be replaced. Character is the foundation of trust and integrity, because without it, influence becomes manipulation, leadership becomes control, love becomes convenience, and what should be sacred becomes self-serving. But with character, a person's words carry weight, their actions carry power, and even their silence speaks, not because of who they are in the eyes of the world, but because of who they are when no one is looking, when the lights are off, when the pressure is on. Character is the foundation of trust and integrity, because it is not built in a moment. It is forged in 1,000 small decisions, in temptations resisted, in truth spoken, in sacrifices made when it would have been easier to turn the other way. And those who walk with character do not walk the easiest path, but they walk the most secure, for even if they are misunderstood, even if they are mocked, even if they are alone, they are never truly shaken. because they have built their house upon rock, not sand. Character is the foundation of trust and integrity, because when all else fails, when the titles fade, when the applause ends, when the spotlight turns to someone else, what remains is the person you are, the conscience you carry, the light you either kept burning or let go out. It is not the image that speaks loudest, not the achievements that echo deepest, but the character that walked with you through every storm, that stood when others fell, that held the truth when the world bowed to lies. And that, my friend, is what makes trust possible. That is what makes integrity real. Character guides us when no one is watching, because it is in the quiet moments, in the secret places, in the spaces where applause cannot reach and approval is absent, that the true nature of a person rises to the surface like gold in the... Because it is easy to perform when the eyes of the world are upon you, when the lights are bright and the rewards are near, but it is in the stillness, in the silence, when no hand claps and no voice cheers, that character whispers or do right anyway. Character guides us when no one is watching, because the real test of who we are is not measured by what we post or what we preach, but by what we choose behind closed doors, thoughts and the hidden dealings of our hands. Where there is no script to follow and no stage to stand on, where it is not reputation that rules, but integrity, not fear of being false. And in those moments, character becomes our only compass, our only compass, our only... Character guides us when no one is watching, because temptation does not knock with a crowd. It comes in the midnight hour, when no one will know, when the risk is low and the gain is high. And in that hour, it is not policy or punishment that holds us back, but the quiet fire within. The voice of conviction that refuses to be silenced, the heart that says, I must be clean even if no one sees, even if no one knows, even if no one applauds. Because to walk upright when no one's looking is to truly walk free. Character guides us when no one is watching, because it knows that a man is not made in public but in private, not in front of the crowd but in the company of his own soul, not in what he promises on platforms but in what he practices in private. And while the world may judge success by spotlight and stage, character measures success by secret faithfulness, by the unseen choices that stack up like bricks and become the unseen foundation of a life that will not crack under pressure. Character guides us when no one is watching, because the weight of leadership, of influence, of trust is not sustained by charisma or cleverness or charm, but by consistency, by the daily quiet commitment to do what is right, not just when it's easy, not just when it's expected, but when no one else would even know if you slipped, if you lied, if you cut corners, and yet you don't, not because of fear, but because of principle, because of something unshakable inside that says, this is who I am and I will not betray. Character guides us when no one is watching, because it understands that the greatest victories are often invisible. The greatest strength is often unseen. The greatest integrity is often uncelebrated. And yet those hidden battles shape who we are far more than any public performance. And when we look back on our lives, it won't be the applause we'll remember, but the crossroads where we could have turned, the rooms where we could have cheated, the moments where we could have fallen and didn't. Character guides us when no one is watching, because even when the world isn't keeping score, your soul is, your conscience is, your creator is. And though you may fool the many, you cannot fool the mirror, you cannot fool the night. You cannot fool the silence that comes after the noise. And if you have walked rightly, if you have stood true, then peace will rest upon you like a crown, not given by man, but earned in the chambers of your own integrity. Character guides us when no one is watching, because that is when it matters most, when there is no incentive but truth, no gain but honor, no audience but God. And when all is said and done, when the lights go out and the curtain falls, it will not be what people thought of you that stands in, but what you truly were when no one was watching, when no one was cheering, when no one was there. And that is the man or woman you truly are. Character shapes destiny, is not written in the stars or handed down by luck or fate or fortune. It is carved in the small decisions, the hidden choices, the silent sacrifices that no one sees but heaven records. And while the world chases outcomes and obsesses over results and crowns success like a prize on a stage, character says the journey is the destiny, the path is the proof, and the person you become while no one is watching will one day determine everything they do see. Character shapes destiny, because talent may open the door, charm may get you inside, connections may carry you a distance, but only character will keep you standing when the winds blow, when the pressure rises, when temptation comes dressed in gold and praise. And only the one with roots deep in truth, deep in principle, deep in something eternal will not fall. Because destiny is not just about arriving It's about enduring, and endurance is the reward of a life built on. Character shapes destiny because shortcuts will always whisper, compromise will always tempt, and applause will always lure you to build your future on sand instead of stone. But destiny, the kind that lasts, the kind that matters, the kind that echoes long after your voice has faded, is never built in haste. It is built in the trenches of discipline, in the fire of testing, in the quiet hours where no eyes are watching and no reward seems near, yet you still choose the higher road. Character shapes destiny because history does not remember the loudest, the flashiest, the most popular. It remembers the faithful, the unwavering, the ones who stood when others sat down, the ones who chose principle over popularity, the ones who endured rejection, suffering, and silence. Not because it was easy, but because their soul was not for sale and their future was not built on sandcastles of applause, but on the rock of integrity. Character shapes destiny because in the end, it is not what we accumulate, not what we wear, not what we flaunt that defines us. It is what we stood for, what we carried through the storm, what we refused to compromise, even when it cost us everything. And destiny is not about being seen. It's about being remembered for the right reasons, and only character can leave a legacy that lives beyond the moment, beyond the noise, beyond the grave. Character shapes destiny because destiny isn't a prize at the end of a race. It's the story written every single day. And when the pressure mounts and the temptation rises and the eyes of the world are fixed on it is not your dreams or your gifts or your plans that will hold you together. It is character, the unseen arm, the invisible spine, the inner voice that says, you were not made to fall here, you were made to finish strong. Character shapes destiny because what you sow in secret grows in public, what you water in silence blooms in light. And the person who learns to keep their heart pure, their hands clean, their word true, even when no one celebrates it, will one day walk into a future that could not be earned any other way. And that kind of destiny, the kind that is marked by purpose, not pride, by meaning, not manipulation, is not given to the clever, it is given to the faithful. Character shapes destiny because destiny is not something we stumble into, it is something we are becoming every single day in every decision, in every yes and every unseen yes and every quiet no. And though the world may chase moments of fame, it is character that builds a life of substance. And in the end, it will not be how far you went that matters most, but how deeply you stood, how truly you walked, how boldly you lived, not just with dreams in your heart, but with character in your bones.